Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is out in theaters, sequel to the 1988 classic comedy from Tim Burton. It was in various stages of development hell for decades. At one point, apparently, the sequel being called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian, which was famously related by Kevin Smith in an amazing story about his work on the Superman script. You can check that on YouTube. You can find it somewhere. Eventually, the film did get made now, with Burton returning, despite the fact that he's previously claimed he's retired from feature filmmaking, but apparently got reinvigorated whilst doing Wednesday, the show for Netflix. Returning cast of Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara, joined by newcomers Jenna Ortega, Justin Theroux, Willem Dafoe, and Monica Bellucci. The story picks up with Lydia, played by Winona Ryder. Now she's a television host of a show about ghosts. She finds out her father has died very recently and very violently, so she, along with her partner and producer, goes back to the small town to take care of the funeral and sort of clear out the house, together with her mom, stepmom actually, played by Catherine O'Hara, and estranged daughter Astrid, played of course by Ortega. Lydia is trying to repair the relationship with Astrid. Astrid is more interested in spending time with a boy that she randomly meets in town. Beetlejuice is suddenly stalking Lydia again, and Beetlejuice's ex-wife is rampaging through the afterlife in search of him. Now, if that sounds like a chaotic mess of disconnected plot lines, it's because the movie is exactly that. It's messy and disjointed and confusing, and a lot of the things in it happen not because they flow naturally from one to the next, but because the screenwriter had another idea to shove in there. It does feel like 4 different scripts mashed together without much thought, and I feel the movie suffers for it, which is a shame because there are other elements to like here. Michael Keaton and Catherine O'Hara both have not lost a single step. They slide right back into their characters and are a joy to watch. Winona Ryder and Jenna Ortega are fine. Not as entertaining as the other two, but still serviceable. Willem Dafoe, great, but he's in the movie very little. Monica Bellucci has absolutely nothing to do to work with, and her entire plot line could be removed from the film with no impact whatsoever. It's totally extraneous. Otherwise, it does feel like a hit or miss nostalgia piece. Some of the jokes are genuinely funny, like the funeral singing or the musical dance number towards the end. I love the set design, costumes, hairstyles, the hokey practical effects that very successfully emulate the feel of the original movie. I'm very glad that they didn't go for modern CG, instead opting for a lot of practical effects and makeup and things like that. But at the same time, there's not a lot of original stuff. Some story beats are straight up repeated, some locations and world elements also appear again, even though they have no real reason to, like the sandworms and Titan. If you remember the context in which they were introduced in the first film, they're kind of shoved in here. And there's just not a lot of new, fresh stuff. Plus, the movie, because of its many plot lines, takes a good hour to actually get going. Like, literally, the first 60 minutes are just scenes of endless exposition and characters introducing themselves and talking about who they are and what happened to them in the past, with no clear indication of where we're actually going with all of this. I didn't like it. I'm sorry to say that, because I think the cast is fantastic and they've done nothing wrong. I think the production design is good, but the movie is just a bloated, overstuffed mess that isn't very funny most of the time and is kind of a waste of an afternoon, if you ask me.